My entire childhood, my father and I used to take late night walks due to his insomnia from shift work. Our neighborhood is considered very safe and ultimately was an urban neighborhood besides one of the roads towards the back of the neighborhood being lined with thick forest for about a mile and a quarter deep, which made it circle back in itself. All of these walks are very dear memories of mine, except one, and it ended being the last one. Along the road, with the tree line, there was a single street light to illuminate a small plot of land. Someone owned it, but it was very overgrown and ill-kept. It was very common for us to walk this road and enjoy the sounds of the forest, the lack of illumination, and the ease of circling back. One ordinary night, as we were walking and making conversation, my father abruptly stops, pulls me close, puts a hand over my mouth, crouches with me, and points towards the single illuminated plot roughly 100 yards away. At first, I didn't see anything and thought he was pulling my leg, but just as I began to protest his grasp, I see a very small, humanoid figure, roughly 3 feet in height, scrawny, with long limbs, materialize out of the plot's brush line and cautiously take in its surroundings before signaling towards the brush. After a few seconds, 2 other small humanoid figures materialize as well. After a brief moment of what looked to be a discussion, all 3 make a dash for the forest tree line. Once this happened, my father picked me up, threw me over his shoulder, and made a break for our home, which is roughly a half-mile back. Mind you, my father is 6'5", 220 pounds, and I was roughly 120 pounds at this time, and he never showed signs of slowing due to his fear and adrenaline. After this night, we never took late night walks. He installed 4 bright motion detecting lights around our acre plot and brought home a dog. The few times I've tried bringing it up, he doesn't want to discuss and made it clear he never wanted to. Those figures still give me the chills, and the image of the 3 huddled together is very vivid 15 years later. So, this happened to my son when he was 17 years old. We lived in New Mexico at the time. My son Cody was riding along with his friends, Drew and Alex. They were in Drew's truck, and Drew was driving. It was night, and they were heading to Drew's house. He lived out in the country, so the road they were on was isolated and surrounded by desert. In fact, that whole area is flat and mostly dirt. As they're driving along, they see a man standing in the middle of the road. Drew slows down, and they all expect the guy to move off to the side. The guy doesn't move. He just stands there. Drew slows to a stop. The guy is standing just outside the light from the headlights. He's wearing jeans and some sort of long sleeve shirt. They couldn't make out the features of the guy's face, but they could tell he was facing them. Nobody moves for a few seconds. the kids start to talk about going around him, but aren't sure if they should pass by this guy or turn around and go another way. Suddenly, the guy drops to all fours and starts running towards the truck. All the kids start screaming. Drew slams the truck into reverse and floors it. Now they're going backwards on this dark country road, and this guy is chasing them on all fours, and he's keeping up with the truck. Drew goes faster, and finally, the guy drops out of sight. Drew turns the truck around, and they all came back to our house. I was in the living room when they came running in, slammed, and locked the door, and went tearing up the stairs to Cody's room. I went up to see what was going on, and this is when they told me the story. I've never seen them so pale and frightened. They were completely freaked out. This happened on a Friday night around 8 p.m. These were kids that would normally rather be anywhere except home on a weekend. That weekend they stayed at our place the whole time. They didn't go out at all, and then only left because they had school on Monday. It took a month before they wanted to go out again at night. They would go anywhere during the day, but at night they usually gathered at our house. After a little research, they all agreed that it was a Skinwalker. Even to this day, if I bring up that night, Cody and his friends will get really quiet and look scared. It took a long time for them to get past it, and they still think that talking about it will make it come back. To be honest, I don't know what I saw, but I have a distinct memory of seeing something as a kid. When I was younger, we used to live near a large woods. Next to the woods was a field used by the local Little League teams. Usually my mom would take me along to my brother's soccer practice, and I would spend the time swinging around in the monkey bars with the other kids. I was only about 5 or 6, so I wasn't supposed to stray far. One day, I was feeling a little braver than usual, and I decided to wander further in the woods than I was allowed to. Not far into my adventure, I found myself just out of sight from the soccer field and about to enter an area where the trees became thicker. I remember looking up and seeing no more than 20 yards ahead of me stood, well, something. It stood upright like a person, but instead of clothes, it had pale, sand-colored fur. It was about 8 feet tall and looked down at me with reddish orange eyes. I wasn't scared by it, but I remembered it stared at me with a stern expression on its face, a distinct, "You're not supposed to be here" look. I got the message. I turned on my heels and made my way back to the soccer field. It felt wiser to spend the rest of the time on the jungle gym with the other kids instead. This took place in northern New Jersey, but I couldn't tell you exactly where or when, since it was so long ago, and we moved not too long after. When I was a young teen, I was sitting on the floor in my mom's bedroom, playing Animal Crossing when it got dark out. I didn't have a light on because I was in there for several daylight hours, so when it got dark I only had the hallway light. I remember looking out the window to my left because I saw some movement and seeing nothing. Just a tree branch next to my porch slightly shaking. I brushed it off, but then remembered we didn't have any trees in our backyard. It was about a half-mile of old farmland. I stared at the branch, trying to figure out where it was coming from, and my eyes trailed it until it came to an end against a white, oval-like surface. I was squinting to see what it was. When it moved, it turned, looked at me, and then slowly lumbered off. I figured I had seen a deer with some kind of color mutation, and that my eyes just messed up with me because I didn't have my glasses on. We normally had a herd or two of deer that grazed in the backyard. It wasn't until later that I realized that none of the herd showed up during the time I saw whatever it was. None of the deer had a color mutation either. At least the regulars didn't. I ignored it for a few days, but then about a week later I was sleeping when I woke up in the middle of the night. I don't know what woke me up, but I have a large window next to my bed that I leave the blinds up on because my dog likes looking out. I look at my dog and he's on alert, looking out the window. I grab my glasses and look where he was fixated on and saw the thing again. I got a better look at it this time, but it had fur so black that its body wasn't really visible, only having the light of the moon off to the side. I figured I was dreaming or something, but as it moved across my yard, back towards the empty field, my dog's head tracked it. My dog was shivering slightly, and normally he barks at the smallest thing, but it seemed like he was trying to be quiet. I grabbed my sketchbook that was on the dresser next to my bed and quickly drew what I saw. I never felt scared of whatever it was, just kind of peaceful in a way. It seemed like it was patrolling the area, and I happened to catch it on its nightly rounds. Hey everyone, Dismal Hero here, and I'd like to thank you for checking out the video. Please subscribe if you haven't already, like and share the video if you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you back here again next time.